That's so we're told.
Well, let's check in with the weather control for the very latest on Katrina. Craig Setzer joining us this morning. Craig?
Good morning, Ileana and Angela. Good morning, everyone. It has been a night where we haven't seen a lot of changes in the overall appearance of Katrina. Now, we did have a problem overnight, and that was that the reconnaissance aircraft wasn't able to get out there and inspect it close up. And a couple of things we depend on from the reconnaissance aircraft is we look at satellite and we look at radar and we get an overall picture of the storm, but we don't really know truly what's going on. We have methods of looking at the satellite presentation and determining roughly what the speed is, but and the satellite images indicate that it looks like Katrina is slowly strengthening. The radar images are starting to look better in terms of a strengthening storm this morning, but we don't know for a fact that the pressure is dropping and how low it has dropped, and that's going to be crucial when the aircraft gets out there. It's forecast or expected to be out there in the next hour or so, and that would certainly be some welcome news. Also, the aircraft has certain instruments on board that can measure the wind, not only at the flight level, but some of the aircraft contain instruments that can measure the wind near the surface, and so all of that will be crucial because it'd be nice to know the overall scope or envelope of the wind field, and that way we can tell better how it's going to affect us as the storm gets closer. Let's start off first with real-time Doppler 4. And you can see the first bands now just starting to make their way towards shore. These are the bands now that will contain the stronger winds and wind gusts up to tropical storm force strength and through tropical storm force strength. So wind gusts up to 45 miles an hour possible now, and that first band is coming on shore there in Palm Beach County and northeast Broward County. And the center of the storm, you can see right there, is starting to show up a little more plainly now. And what's happening is that as the storm is now, at least from an appearance point of view, starting to strengthen, the precipitation is starting to wrap around, so the eye becoming a little bit better defined there. We'll show you a little more closely what that looks like in just a second. But let's zoom in first into northeast Broward, and you can see there this first band now working its way right along the beaches there. There is the Turnpike, there is 95, and there's the Sawgrass Expressway. So the activity moving to the south now, and will become increasingly windy and rainy, starting in Broward and eventually working its way down into Dade, and also starting to gradually work its way to the west. Here's a look at the, well, that's a look at nothing right there, but that is a look at the radar here over the last 12 hours. And what you can see here as we put it into motion is that for a time we had what looked like it was a center, and then it kind of faded away. And now towards the end of the loop here, you'll see that the center starts to come back. So as we go into motion here, you can see the overall system continuing to move to the west. And right there at the end of the loop, the reds are very pronounced on the east side, and the precipitation is starting to wrap around, so it is starting to, we're starting to see the visible appearance of an eye starting to form there at the end of the loop, and that is an indication that Katrina is starting to strengthen. Now you can see it is not that far from the shore anymore, from the coast, about 70 miles as of the 8 o'clock advisory, and so this window of opportunity for strengthening is decreasing. And as long as this speed continues, and right now, and at least according to the Hurricane Center, there's no reason to believe that it's going to slow significantly. As long as this speed continues, we would think that's good news, because the window of opportunity for strengthening is slowly decreasing as Katrina continues to move off to the west. So there you can see. And you can also notice on the satellite picture, or this radar picture rather, that there's a lot of heavy weather on the east and south side of the center. So even if the center passes, let's say at the Broward Palm Beach County line, Dade and all of Broward are going to feel a lot of the effects, because once the center gets past, then all of this bad weather is going to come through, and this is where the strongest winds are located, we believe, is on that east side. So the winds will increase as the center comes ashore and as it continues to move to the west for some time, and that is later to come, at least later today, if not tonight and early tomorrow. Here's the 8 o'clock advisory, the latest position coordinates as of 8 a.m. 26.2 north, 79.0 west, winds estimated at 50 miles an hour, and the movement is to the west at 8. And that number is, I would say, huge, that west at 8, because one of the fears was Katrina would slow down, and some of the computer programs were suggesting it would slow down a lot, and we were afraid if this number, that 8 there, dropped below 5 or even lower, then it would have a much longer time to strengthen, but that has not been the case, so that's good news there. 70 miles to the east of Fort Lauderdale. The pressure there, 999 millibars, that is an estimate. We'll find a new pressure once the aircraft gets out there. So the future track continues this general thinking of a slow or gradual west motion. Now there may be some little wobbles here, and a little wobble to the south could take the center near the northern Dade County line, or a little wobble to the north could take the center well up into Palm Beach. Too early to tell right now, but we'll be watching for those wobbles because in the scheme of things, it's generally moving to the west, but the wobbles will make a difference in terms of some of the worst weather in a few locations. But all in all now, it is just kind of the weather's going to go downhill from here. And then it crosses the peninsula, and by Saturday morning emerges on the west coast of Florida, or the southwest coast of Florida, and then begins to turn to the northwest and eventually to the north, so that by Sunday it's in the eastern Gulf of Mexico and possibly a threat to the Florida west coast, or potentially even the Panhandle. Presently we are under a hurricane warning. That's most of the east coast here, the southeast coast, from Vero Beach down through Florida City. So all of coastal Dade, Broward under the hurricane warning, also Lake Okeechobee under the hurricane warning. And the tropical storm watch remains in effect for the middle and upper Keys, also the southwest coast, and the tropical storm warnings remain in effect for the northwest Bahamas. And winds in the Grand Bahama area have been gusting well into tropical storm force strength, above 45 miles an hour. Water vapor loop, one of the things we've seen overnight that also may have limited the strengthening process, or at least slowed it down. There has been a little bit of drier air working into the north side of the system, and we saw that on radar, that the north side didn't look that filled in, so that drier air is believed to have been working into it, which has been good news as far as we're concerned, because it may have limited the strengthening process, but over time it looks like that drier air is going to begin to fade out. Here's the water vapor loop over the last 12 hours, and you can kind of see that flow right there toward the storm, toward Katrina, as Katrina continues to move off to the west. And we'll zoom out a little bit because the wider view shows the scope of Katrina there, and all of this green extending down into here, and there's a few thunderstorms down there in the southeast Bahamas, but a lot of this green is tropical moisture that will be pulled over us as Katrina moves away, so it is going to stay very wet. And with that in mind, a flood watch is in effect for the possibility of 6 to 12 inches of rain. That flood watch is in effect through at least Sunday morning right now. So that is the latest situation. We will keep watching the radar now as these bands start to move ashore and anticipate any type of warnings. Also, we'll try to track some of these heavier bands because folks are doing last-minute preparations, and when the weather goes down, it's good to scurry inside and wait it out until the next band comes and we get a break and a window. So that's a look at what's going on this morning. Let's get back to you ladies.
Okay, Craig, thank you.